Hello, welcome to The Wandering Drew. I am Drew. I have been purchasing and upgrading my equipment since the very first hike that I took. And I think many hikers are the same way. We're always looking for the next best, new, or greatest item that will make our hike better or easier or more comfortable. And we are constantly seeking out new technology in order to improve the gear and the kit that we take with us out on the trail. So I just decided to make a purchase. Stay tuned for the factors that led me to finally make a decision and upgrade my gear. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me. After months of researching product choices, some serious, some just casually researching what was out there and reading numerous reviews and descriptions, I finally decided to make a purchase. And that purchase was for a new jacket. And this was actually a decision that has been a long time coming and probably overdue. And I knew that I needed a good, warm, puffy type jacket for the winter weather. I just would never commit to that. So let me go into what finally pushed me into making a decision. When I first started hiking again, it was pretty much a summer activity. And I'm only counting those trips that were not day hikes. So it involved generally hiking several miles with a camp being set up each night and then hiking again the next day. The first 3 backpacking hikes that I took of this nature were all done during the months of June or July. And this was due to the fact that this is when I was able to take vacation with my family. And on all 3 of those hikes, I was accompanied by either both or one of my sons. At the time, they were of school age, and that was when they were able to go during the summer. So it just made sense, both logistically and physically, that we were able to go during the warmer months on hiking trips. Additionally, with the warmer temps, it also meant that generally we had less gear that we had to purchase and less gear that we had to carry. Due to the practical and the logistical reasons, we went during warm weather, which meant there was really no need for a heavy or a very warm winter type jacket. And it was because of my experiences with my sons that I decided to start going solo. So after those hikes, I was a solo hiker. And I also, being that I had more flexibility in the time that I can go, I didn't need to go when they were off of school, I was able to go. And sometimes it's a lot easier to get vacation during the winter or cooler months. Additionally, I avoided the really hot and humid summer months on many of these trails when there were more people out using them, and it was generally uncomfortable for me to be hiking. The cold weather, to me, is more comfortable. And that was when I began purchasing gear. And as it relates to the purchase of the jacket, that's when I really began following several jacket choices. The numerous choices that were available were overwhelming. There was just so many of them and so many variables, and there was so much to learn at first that I really wasn't sure what I needed or what I should get. I guess you could say that I wasn't smart enough to know what I didn't know and what I would actually need when I went hiking. Even today, I still don't know. But with several cold weather or cooler weather trips under my belt, I think I know a little better of what I need and a little better of some of the things I don't need. And I have a saying that I say all the time, there's a reason why they make vanilla and chocolate, because not everybody likes the same thing. And I believe that just like in all gear, when it comes to jacket or anything else, there is no such thing as the perfect piece of equipment. I think what there is the perfect piece of equipment for you right now. So it's what you need, when you need it, because of what you're doing. In the future, or 6 months, or it could be years, but even 6 months later, your style of hiking, the places you go, the things you need may change, and that piece of equipment that was so great isn't as great. And it's not really that the piece of equipment isn't great anymore, or it was a bad choice. You have to realize that it's not the right choice for you at that point. And as I get more experience, I realize there's a reason why sometimes you need 2 or 3 things, because they're all able to do something in different situations or different conditions that make them the best choice for those set of conditions. So I know what works for me now may not work for me 6 months or a year from now. Or if I decide to go do a different type of camping at a different location, that I may need something else. And that's a hard thing to begin to understand when you start out, because you're always looking for that piece of equipment that you think checks all the boxes. And there really is no piece of equipment that checks all the boxes all the time. And it takes time to learn that. So a lot of times I'm starting to learn when it comes to equipment, there's only now. It's what you need right now. Like many people that hike or backpack, I do like buying things. But I also like to buy things and be able to use them for several years. I also try to take good care of my equipment so that it will last me. And as I said, as I get more experience and older, I learn that sometimes a piece of equipment doesn't work, and you need to accept that and change it out and move on. That you made a bad decision or a bad choice for what you're doing. And that is what brings me back to the jacket that I purchased. Back several years ago, I was partly overwhelmed and frustrated by the so many choices that were available, and the small differences that sometimes separated one jacket from another. But my first cold weather trip was approaching, and I knew I needed to get something. And sad to say, back then, I was really shocked by some of the costs of the products that were out there. And I didn't want to spend the money. Some of it was honestly being cheap. So I didn't fully understand what I was paying for that money and the features I was getting, and it seemed extremely overpriced for me. And it was then that I decided to purchase an item on clearance because it was available, and honestly, it was lower priced than other items, and I could save money. And that allowed me to justify or rationalize that purchase because, after all, I saved money and I got a jacket that was cheaper than what most other people were purchasing when they went camping or hiking and spending on their equipment. And let me also say, once again, it was not a bad choice. It just wasn't a good choice for me. And I also have to be honest with both you and myself in that any purchase you're making, you need to know what you're going to do with it or how you're going to use it, because that should be affecting your decision to purchase it. And I didn't do that. I bought pretty much based on the dollar amount and the fact that it was a jacket. And I didn't do very good research when it came to that. So once again, I'm just going to illustrate that what I'm saying is a piece of equipment may be a good piece of equipment. It just may not be a good fit for what you're doing or how you're going to need to use it. And to illustrate this, I'm going to use a pair of gloves. So you're going camping, it's fall, and you need a pair of gloves. Well, maybe someone gives you a pair of gloves, or you have a pair lying around from when you went skiing, and these gloves are great. They keep you warm to like negative 10 degrees. Well, it's only going to be about 50 degrees or 40 degrees at the coldest. So now you have gloves that are made for really winter weather on your hands. And they're also thick as could be. So when you go hiking, you find out you can't even really grab onto your trekking poles very well. You can't do anything. You can't work your GPS. Maybe you can't unbuckle or buckle with them. You can't even open up a bottle of water with them because they're like 2 marshmallows on your hands. So yeah, they keep you warm. Matter of fact, they keep you so warm that your hands are sweating and you end up taking them off because they're too hot, and then also you can't do anything with them. So how good is that piece of equipment for you? It might be great if you were going in snow or maybe skiing, but it's not good for you to go backpacking in warmer weather. So it's not the glove's fault that they didn't work. It's your fault that you picked the wrong piece of equipment for what you were doing. In another place, in another time, maybe going winter camping in February up in the mountains, where there's snow and alpine situation, those might be exactly what you need. And I realize that's making it very simplistic and making it very plain, but that's to just illustrate the point so that you realize what I'm talking about. And that's really the mistake that I made. And what do most people do with that equipment that they have that doesn't work out? They generally tend to either maybe hand it down to someone, but most of the time it ends up going on a shelf or a box and just sitting there. Because usually you can't return it after you've already taken it out and used it, or you've owned it for enough time that you can no longer return it. And that's the problem with a lot of camping and hiking equipment. We seem to acquire it over time, and we move on, we purchase a new item, and the old item doesn't get recycled or discarded. And I'm guilty of that as well. I tend to pack things up and hold on to them. Additionally, what will then happen in the age of the internet, and reviews are so important, and people's comments, you may go online and negatively review an item. And I read a lot of reviews on anything I'm looking to buy now. I usually look at reviews. And I see a lot of reviews that are really useless because you can tell the person is more emotional about it, or they feel about a product because it didn't work for them, but it may have been they didn't work for that product. And a lot of people will negatively review a product when they haven't even really used it effectively, or they made a bad choice for what they're doing to use this product. And sometimes you can tell that by reading the review. And sometimes it's hard to understand why we need all these different items and have to justify it. And I do that, to myself sometimes. Do I really need this item? What am I going to use it for? Is this item different enough than something I already have that it justifies that purchase? I usually talk myself into it anyway. I'm not going to really talk myself out of it. But sometimes I do delay the purchase to research a little more or think about it. And a lot of times I end up not buying something because I was being impulsive and I didn't really need it. And that prevents me from going online and, let's say, negatively talking about a product, because I try not to do that if I don't use the product the way it was supposed to be used. Sometimes you have to step back and realize, is this a factual review or is it an emotional review? So I've become a little more picky when I'm purchasing items. Does it check all the boxes or check as many boxes as I think I need to be checked compared to another item? And if it does check more of those boxes than another, maybe it's a go to purchase it. But I realize that not every item, not every piece of equipment is going to do everything I would like it to do. Life is a series of compromises, and purchasing equipment is no different. I now have more than one sleeping bag. I have one for winter weather and one for summer weather, because it doesn't make sense to bring a very warm sleeping bag out during the summer. You're not going to use it. You're just going to sweat. And the obviously bag that's made for warmer weather is not going to do as well in the cold weather. So it does make it necessary to have two sleeping bags. And that's hard for someone that doesn't go camping or backpacking to understand, because to them, you have a sleeping bag. What do you need two or three of them for? But someone that backpacks understand that. So that was a long explanation for what could have been a short answer. Basically, I wanted and feel that I needed a jacket for colder weather. My current jacket wasn't working. Like many of my videos, I tried to be as complete as possible and cover them from a hiker's point of view, but someone that would be, let's say, new to the activity. I'm also trying not to assume that the viewer has the same knowledge and experience as me. We're all different and we all have different levels of experience. I think that leads me to be a little bit more detailed and a little bit lengthy when it comes to video content. And this video that you just watched is no exception. I started out making a video about an upgrade to equipment, and it ended becoming so much more. I decided to include some background information that led me to make the change, and also some of the factors that I was considering when making the change. And that led that segment of the video to go a lot longer than I expected. I decided to leave that lengthy portion of the video in because it lets you understand what I was doing, what I was thinking, and why I made the change. I think it also explains that some of the gear failures we have and that I experienced when I first started are common, and that other people make mistakes as well. Additionally, sometimes it's not the gear that fails us, it's us that fails the gear. We make a bad choice, or we make a choice that's not right for the activity that we're doing. And I wanted people to see that. So a gear upgrade video became things to consider when upgrading, and if an upgrade is even warranted. And now it has become 2 videos because I realize that not everyone wants to sit and watch a 50-minute video. In the next episode, I will cover the actual piece of equipment, the Montbell jacket that I purchased, and do a discussion of its features. So I had to go back and do a little bit of re-recording, a new opening, a new closing, and some different segments. So I decided to come out here into the outdoors to do that. I hope you'll give me a little bit of latitude, and I appreciate your understanding. I also wanted to put out a little update. I may be out hiking as you watch this, as I have a planned hike on the Florida Trail in the Ocala National Forest the week of November 15th. Hopefully, I will be posting videos from the trail while I'm out hiking. That's a big if, because that's assuming that I am able to record and edit my videos proficiently enough with my phone. So if I can get that process down, I'll try to post some videos from the trail. Secondly, Paper Tiger has contacted me and has sent me his physical address. So I'd like to report that his shirt, at the time that I'm recording this, in mid-October, is already on the way to him. He may have already received it yet. I'm not sure. I'm just awaiting word from him that he received it, and hopefully a photo that I can include in a future video. I'm also very pleased to report that Elle received her t-shirt, as I mentioned earlier, but sent me, in addition to a very nicely worded email, these photos of her wearing the shirt. I hope that she uses it well, and that shirt gets to go on some adventures with her in the future. And that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your day to watch my videos. I appreciate you doing this. It's very satisfying to know that other people are watching these videos and enjoying them and getting some value out of them. So thank you for the kind words and comments to those of you that have left them. If you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing to the channel. As always, you can leave a comment below, good, bad, or otherwise. Let me know your thoughts on equipment upgrades and some of the factors maybe that you consider that I've maybe overlooked and haven't discussed in this episode. Additionally, think about giving me a thumbs up or a like for this episode if you enjoyed it. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch these videos. Till we meet again. I guess you could say I really didn't know enough to know what I needed or what I didn't know.